And a very, very warm welcome back to episode number 2 of BudgetCraft. Today we're going back to the Wall of All to cross off another farm, and the one that's on my sights today is the Froglight Farm. Now, I have already done some prep work for this, which was off camera. It was initially on camera, but then the power went out and corrupted the recording. So that means I have already located a swamp. We have our frogs and we have started to breed them, so I'll make my way back over to that swamp, which is several thousand blocks away, and I'll meet you when I'm over there. And now we are back in the swamp. We have our wonderful frogs here. We already have some frog spawn, and the first 4 tadpoles have literally just hatched. This is fantastic. We can get all of these in our buckets now, and that means we can start thinking about taking them back to the island. This is the first step that we will need to do in order to create a Froglight Farm, because believe it or not, the frogs need to be in the Froglight Farm in order to have Froglights. So we've got 4 tadpoles already. We can grab those and take them back to the island. We're just waiting for the second set of frog spawn to hatch. Now, one thing to note about frog spawn is you cannot mine it. Even with Silk Touch, it will not drop and give you an item in your inventory. It will just break, and we don't want to be murdering the tadpoles, especially because they've not even had a chance to become alive yet. So I'm just going to keep lingering around here with my froggy friends until that second set of frog spawn hatches, and it does right on cue. We've got 2 further tadpoles. That's exactly what we needed. So now we can grab both of those and I can start heading back those several thousand blocks to the island. We are done with the mangrove swamp. That's all we needed. So I'll meet you back there when we are back on terra firma. And now we are on to phase number 2 of this Froglight Farm. We have our tadpoles in teeny tiny ponds. We've got 2 here in the plains biome. This is a temperate biome. That means we are going to be getting ochre frogs from these, and that means we'll be getting our ochre froglights when they are transported into the farm. We have a second pair of tadpoles here in the sparse jungle biome. This is a warmer biome, so that means we're going to be getting the pearlescent frogs from these to get the pearlescent froglights when they're in the farm. This is the only one that's not on the island, so I have dug out a little path all the way over there to get us back to the island. And then we also have our third set. And our third set is here in the snowy plains biome. This is the chilly one, and this is going to give us the verdant frogs. They're going to be the verdant froglight source in our Froglight Farm, and now we play the waiting game. We've got to wait for all of these tadpoles to grow up into their big adult frogs. One thing we can do to try and speed up the process is use some slime balls. So we're just going to start spamming slime balls all on these tadpoles, and we'll see just how quickly they grow up. They do love their slime balls though, so it could take quite some time. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll keep spamming these slime balls, and I'll meet you when all of our frogs have grown up. I tell you what, those tadpoles were more than a tad greedy. We went through almost all of our slime balls together. We've got just over a stack and a half remaining after all of that breeding up. We did manage to get all of our frogs though, and they're all in boats. And one thing I've also done is I bred up some extra tadpoles just in case something goes awry with these frogs, because you never know what could happen. Something could go wrong, and I really don't want to trek back all the way to the swamp. But we're done with the frogs for now. We've got to head into the Nether next. So we're going to be going onto the Nether roof, and we're going to start building our spawning platform for the magma cubes. And now we find ourselves here on the Nether roof. This is great for us because it means we can do very simple farms. And we're going to make a very simple Froglight farm up here. If I go into Cheaty FreeCam, you can see that we are in the basalt deltas. And that is perfect for us because the basalt deltas only spawn ghasts and magma cubes. We can block off the ghasts with a little bit of glass, so that means we'll only have the magmas spawning in our farm. And the first thing we need to do is create a little 9x9 platform. We're going to be going 9x9 because it's very simple to remember. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I'm just going to get my coordinates up a little bit to make sure this is all in basalt deltas, which it is. And then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Finish off the square, and then we can finish off this whole first platform. This isn't going to be the spawning platform though, this is going to be our collection platform. We're going to do something very simple here. We're just going to make a nice little square. We'll replace these middle blocks as well with redstone blocks so that we can have a fully powered rail system. So now that we have 9 by 9, let's count into 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll replace all of this middle section here with the redstone blocks, and that should then mean that we can have a very nice and powered rail system. We'll also plonk a redstone block in this position here. Just do the double there. That is so that we can have a powered rail here that will plonk the minecart all the way back. We do also need some regular rails just to do a little bit of separation, so we'll have a regular rail there. Then we'll do powered rails all the way down, turn it around with some regular rails, and we'll go all the way back up once again with the powered rails. When we get to the end, we do the turn with the regulars as well, because the powered rails aren't bendy, and we've just got to repeat this process all the way on this platform. The beautiful thing about rails is mobs cannot spawn on them, so we are perfectly safe while we are on here. And it also means we are perfectly safe when we're building up above as well. Because the last thing we'd want is to encourage a ghast to spawn while we're building this farm. That could be incredibly dangerous and incredibly scary. And I don't think I could take it personally. It would be far too much for me. So now that we have finished this, we need to build another 9x9 platform. Now, before we carry on with the next platform, I've added a little collection chamber here. This is using a very simple circuit where we're pulling out the contents of this hopper through this comparator, and that will then only let this rail be powered if this hopper is empty. So that is how we're going to be collecting the items. Of course, hopper minecarts can pull from a solid block. So we're going to start building the next 9x9 platform. That's where all of the magmas are going to be killed, and then we'll take things from there. And with that, we have a nice little platform made up. I've surrounded it with some glass, I've put the iron bars and the chains in, and we have this one block here in the centre. This is where some iron golems are going to sit. Now, we are going to need to produce said iron golems, so I've brought some iron blocks along with us. So what we'll do is we'll pillar out ever so slightly here, and then we'll start building the shape. I seem to remember that it's a T-shape. Then we're going to need to break this temporary block here, and we'll plonk a carved pumpkin on the tippy top. We've got our first iron golem in place. Let's now get our second. So we'll do another temporary block just on here if it'll let us. I think the iron golem's hitbox is slightly in the way, so we'll have to go a little bit higher up. So if we take it from here, and then we go 2 out, we can build another T-shape just like this. We are going to need to go over to that side. We will use our shovel to get rid of those temporary blocks, and then we'll plonk another carved pumpkin on top. He falls in as well, and now we have 2 wonderful iron golems. Now they're in place here so that they can kill the bigger magma cubes, and that means we're always going to have a steady supply of the smaller magma cubes on this bottom platform. That's where our frogs are going to be living. We've not got them in there quite yet, because that's going to be a bit of an endeavour. But now that we have those in place, we can get rid of all of these temporary blocks, fall down onto the surface, and now we're going to pick a side and build another 9x9 platform. Very quickly, before we build the 9x9 platform, I've made a couple of corrections. Those chains turned out to be 1 layer too low, so I've extended up the glass wall on all of the sides, I've extended up the chains, and I also decided to ghast-proof before building the 9x9 layer. There was a very slight chance that some ghasts could have spawned while we were at the far end of the 9x9 layer, so I've put 3 rows of glass over our platforms here. That should be more than enough to stop any pesky ghasts spawning in this farm at the moment. So now it is time to build the second 9x9 layer, and this is where our magmas are going to be spawning. So we're going to start off on here. We're going to use stone bricks once again. And it's going to start off here, go all the way out 9x9, we'll surround it with glass again, and I'll let you know when I'm done. Now I've got myself into cheaty free cam here. I'm all the way up at the top of this scaffolding platform, and even with this tiny 9x9 section, we are getting so many magma cubes spawning already. I don't think we need to extend out on any of the other sides, because remember, the reason we're doing these farms isn't to produce industrial quantities, it's to produce just enough of the items we're after. So I think once we get the frogs in place now, we'll have a steady supply of frog lights for everybody else here on the server. Talking getting frogs in place, that's going to be an absolute nightmare. I'm going to build a rail track both in the overworld and in the nether, so once that's built up, I'll meet you back where we'll be able to get the frogs in place. I think the word I would use to describe the last 45 minutes or so of my life in game would be arduous. I've managed to get all of the frogs into the nether now. They have just yeeted themselves off while I was trying to describe them, so we're going to have to be playing catch up now with these frogs. Hopefully they're making their way into the farm. They are still all in boats, which is a little bit concerning, so we might have to do some magic here and there when we get to the farm, but we should hopefully see a bunch of frogs in the correct place, and hopefully all of them have survived the trip as well. It would be incredibly devastating if any of them didn't survive this trip once we had done all of this work. So we are now into the bottom of the farm. We are glitching out ever so slightly, but if I get my hitboxes on now very, very carefully with F3 and B, what I'm hoping to be able to do is break these boats one by one. Oh, that one's got into the minecart. We don't want it in the minecart. We've got 2 of those. We've got 2 of these. Oh, nuts. Right, okay, that's a slight issue because we have broken the floor there. Let us grab a lead for this boat. Get the boat way out of the danger zone of the broken floor there. We'll replace that block. And then what should we do? We'll unleash. Be very careful to only hit the boat. Then we can hopefully fill in the sides. We'll use some stone brick for now, just temporarily. And now we need to grab these 2 other frogs once more. Goodness me. Does always have to go wrong. Now, fortunately, you can leash frogs, so this shouldn't be as bad as it could otherwise have been. We just have to get them all the way up into the farm once more. Hopefully they'll follow us. If not, we might need to do a little bit of climbing like this. We don't want them to suffocate though. That is the next big issue. Let's see if we instead leash them in one hand. I do have a couple of slime balls. Hopefully that will get them to follow us as well, because we want to get them up onto here. I don't think they can pathfind on rails, so we'll get rid of these rails while we're at it. There's always going to be a slight issue at the very end of a farm, hasn't there? There we go. They're getting up very slowly, but very surely they're coming all the way up to us, which is what we want to see. You can do it, frogs. Just one more step. We need to wait for your mate behind you, because I can't be bringing in any slime balls to the farm itself, because the others are then going to try and escape. We'll get rid of the slime balls. They're both on a lead. We will do this and get all the way over here. Oh no, we've lost one again. But still, that's one more than we did have. So we'll go back out. We'll block it up. And we'll try and get that extra frog back. And now if we come in here, be very careful not to injure the frog. We're going to get them all over here. We'll break that lead and then we'll make our escape. Glass there. Nab this glass for there. Very quickly cover it up. So we've got our frogs in place. We just need to block that one off there. We're going to be fine with that single piece of rail in there for now. I will fix that at a later date. But at the moment, all I am bothered about is this farm actually working. It's taken a very, very long time to get those frogs in place. Let us now start the ascent, and I'll get into free cam and see how we're getting on. And after a very, very long climb, we're at the top of this very temporary AFK platform. Let's get ourselves into cheesy free cam, go all the way down, and let's see if this farm is working. We are looking for the teeny tiny magma cubes to make their way down into the bottom of the farm, and then we'll hopefully see our frogs starting to have a little bit of a nibble. Yes, there we go. We have our first Froglight from this farm, and we can call it a success. I am incredibly happy about that. This has taken far, far more time and effort than I ever thought it would, but we now have a reliable source of Froglights on the server. I tell you what, we're going to get ourselves all the way down there right now, and we're going to celebrate with our new Froglights. And here we have it. We have a bunch of Froglights in the farm. I am going to call this an absolute success. I am incredibly happy with how this has gone. I do need to fix this collection system ever so slightly. I think this minecart is going slightly too fast. But for now, I am going to call it there. We have had a very long episode. I hope you've had fun. If you have, please do make sure to leave a like. It does push the video to more people. Check out my second channel, or my first channel I should say, youtube.com/Squidgy if you like Pokemon Challenge running. Subscribe to this one if you are enjoying the content. Leave a comment down below with what you'd like to see next. And until next time, I'll say thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all very, very soon.